Welcome to Hops and Highways, your weekly newscast dedicated to the road building industry. My name is Jessica Lombardo, and I'm editor of Asphalt Contractor Magazine. I'm joined by Dormy Roberts, associate editor, and we're lucky to also be joined today by another special guest, Marvin from Wiscoat LLC Asphalt Maintenance. So before we get to the beers we're drinking, I want to point out these awesome Yeti can koozies we have. They're brand new. And since Hops and Highways is starting to gain some traction, y'all seem to kind of like what we're doing. We're going to celebrate and give away one of these can koozies every week through the month of March. And all you have to do to enter is fill out a form on our website. And we're going to link it after the video is done. And each week we're going to pick a winner and we'll announce the winner the following week. So next week, we'll announce our first winner of these Yeti can koozies. We're really excited to have them. And you're going to really want one because they keep my Busch Light ice cold. So that is what I'm drinking today. You know me, you know my Busch Light. Dormy, what are you having today?
So I'm sipping on 1E, but it's a hazy IPA by the Ozark Blues Brewing Company out of Longmont, Colorado. So, you know, I love IPAs and it hits you with the citrus hop, big fruit flavors. And the fun thing is it's only 100 calories, but you would never tell by the taste of the beer. So Marvin, what you drinking on this fine Friday?
Well, I figured we might as well go with the Wisconsin Classic. So Spotted Cow, New Glarus Brewing, was fortunate enough to go down to the brewery last year and do a tour. Highly recommended. Very great. And it's always good. Hot, cold weather. It doesn't matter. It's always a classic.
That's a good choice. Thanks for joining us today, Marvin, and we will cheers to you.
All right. I like it. Cheers.
Happy Friday.
Cheers.
Happy Friday.
So we're going to hop right into the questions. Marvin, tell us a little bit about yourself, your company, how you got into the pavement maintenance industry.
Sure. So Wiscoat started fresh out of high school. I moved to Black River Falls. I grew up in the Spring Green, River Valley area, House on the Rock for everybody that knows the area. And then I moved up there. My father lived up there. I started the business. You don't need much money when you're a single young man and, beer money and you're in good shape. But after a while, when I started to have a family, I realized I was going to have to start making some more money. So we still do a lot of work up in Black River Falls, but we moved back down towards South Central Wisconsin where I grew up. And we just kept Wiscoat going. It went from, we started around 2004, even through 2008 and 2009. I worked a different job at the same time, keeping Wiscoat going. And at some point, Wiscoat made enough money that I didn't have to do anything but what Wiscoat was doing. And it did great. It made a living for me and my family just fine. I really came to a point where the work was really easy. And every day I was just going out, working, coming back, and waking up and doing it again and again. And for some reason, that process made me get really stagnant. And I was like, gosh, if this is all I'm going to do, I'm going to be miserable. I don't like just doing that every day. So I started thinking, well, maybe I'll take on a different business or do a different aspect of my business. And I started looking on YouTube for snow plowing because the season was coming to an end. And I went down a rabbit hole. I clicked on a video by a guy named Dirt Monkey, and he had said how to get into snow plowing. And on the right, it had suggested videos. And I started clicking those ones. And pretty soon I realized that some of these guys were in videos together. And then some of them were explaining to the younger people how to do certain things in the landscape and lawn care industry. So they have a huge expo. I'd heard of MPE, never really been before. It was just like, well, what do I really need? We're not that size. I really don't need to go. But they had their own expo called the GIE, which is the Green Industry Expo. I went down there, and seen a community of contractors that were my size. And you had all these guys that were in social media that were kind of leading meetups and events. And you really got a sense that they loved doing what they were doing because they had this community to share it with. And I thought, okay, first of all, I got to figure out how to use social media correctly. Because since then I've just been posting random stuff and sharing that I was eating popcorn at the movies or something like that. And, then I realized who really cares about that all that much. But I came back, started a social media group on Facebook. In the first year, it had some contractors, a few hundred. By the next year, we were up to a few thousand. And it was just everybody sharing all this education, this content and everything. But at the same time, I use that same process for Wiscoat to make it personal, put our brand out there. And we really took off. Our community got to see who we were, our process, what made us important, our core values. We were able to share that and get a foot in the door without them having to call us first, because we use social media on Facebook and Facebook ads and things like that to put some of our highlighted work, these great projects that sometimes you go by and you're like, well, who did that? You don't really know until, it's in front of you, like, oh, that's who did that. And we made a point to make it seen that it was us. And Wiscoat really took off, and we still use that today. Social media is our main marketing game, and a lot of it's organic now. We have a good head of steam at Wiscoat. So it's been a fun ride. And since then, the social media has taken me to writing articles with you guys, and then speaking all over, not just MPE, but other places as well, and consulting and all kinds of things. So between social media working for Wiscoat, it's working for me too now, apparently. So it's an interesting ride.
Yeah, I remember that first interview we did together, and that was just such an exciting time for both of us. We were just learning the industry and getting to know the people and everything about it. So what is your favorite part of the asphalt industry besides the smell? Everybody loves the smell, but what's your favorite part?
It's got to be my friends. It's got to be my peers and the people I know. I just there's some kind of camaraderie that's built knowing that somebody is going through the exact same things that you're going through, or they have already. They just understand you better. So it's fun, because who else are you going to walk around with, see a roller or a plate compactor and get excited at the same time that's what you're looking at, it's just, or a great tidbit where someone tells you this is the best way to keep employees in a seal coating business. No one's going to get excited except two seal coaters that are together walking around, or taking a class together. So that's definitely my favorite, is our community.
And I agree, totally. So the past year has been totally difficult on all of us, not being able to meet in person. What are some ways that you have broken down those physical or social distancing barriers?
Yeah. So with Wiscoat, early on, we developed a game plan. I meet usually once a week online, whether it's a Zoom meeting or something, with other contractors of the industry. Now we're using Clubhouse, at least Wiscoat is, through Blacktop Banter. We're using Clubhouse to meet every week with some people too. And we really just get there and develop a game plan for things like that. And early on last year, we realized, hey, we can still go out and estimate areas and everything, not see anybody, let them know, hey, we're going to be there. We can deliver that estimate via technology or mail or whatever, and us still not come in contact with our clients. And then we can do the project, still not come in contact with the clients, and then invoice them and still not come in contact with the clients. And I understand that that's done quite a bit, commercial size, very big projects, but we had to shrink that down to residential projects and things too. And people were fully understandable about that. And really what we did, I emailed a letter explaining that to all of our current clients. And then of course I used social media with the camera on my face and me and Wiscoat saying, hey, no worries, we can still take care of these projects. And if you're looking to get them done, we can take care of you in this way. And that's how we went over that barrier pretty good. We had an excellent year here at Wiscoat.
Yeah, so you're talking about social media, and you're pretty well known. You've built a huge presence on the digital side. So can you give us some insight on how you use digital for your business practices? You kind of touched on it, but maybe share some more tips on how you utilize it and why other contractors should start embracing these digital platforms.
Yeah, I think it's full scale. I think it's people where it's just them, maybe in their business, they can take advantage of it, and then even larger companies can take care of, use it to feel like they're taking care of their clients. So some of the really good tips early on, if you have a small business, really make it personal. Turn the camera around. It doesn't always have to be business, but let your clients know, hey, the Wiscoat family, let's just use Wiscoat as an example. The Wiscoat family's out at, whatever it is, the county fair or whatever, or we're donating whatever to this cause or however, and just let them know you're present, you're there, you're in the community, you're staying there, but then also show your work and make sure that you're doing it the way that you would want to be presented if you were face to face with them. And that's the main key, is just pretend like you're face to face with them if you have the camera around, and treat people how you would want to be treated as well. On the larger scale, they might lose that personal touch sometimes. And maybe that's what they want, to create a personal touch, or let their community know, hey, this is a great place to work as well. And they can use that same concept to display their culture. You know, I have a really good friend that they made a fantastic video. I think is top tier, they're an East Coast company, paving company. And it made me want to quit and go work there, because it was just like, oh my gosh, that's where I want to be. And I think you can utilize it both ways. You really just have to set your goals and really ask yourself what you want via social media. And there's a path to whatever need or want you want, I guess, for your business.
To be honest, digital can be daunting. There's many platforms, different capabilities. Do you have any recommendations for those who are interested but don't know where to start?
Yeah, absolutely. Facebook really wants you to spend money with them. Like they want you to, so they make it really easy. If you go into, it used to be Facebook Ads Manager, but now it's Business Suite. Everything's getting a little more classy here as they're getting a little bit bigger. But it's really simple. They have a lot of tools. They will walk you through how to use it. And you can really, if you want to place a Facebook ad, a few dollars gets you an ad. So for, what tuition, what fees, what education can you get for just a few bucks? And then they'll shoot analytics back at you to show you, hey, this is kind of how this did. And you do that a few times, and all of a sudden, let's say you spend the same amount of money, target the same audience, but you change the content up a little bit, you'll realize what connects and what doesn't when you see those analytics going up. So it's really easy that way if you're going to spend money. Now, if you're not going to spend money, go ahead and just make those same posts, but don't make an ad about them, and share them on your personal page and see how the people react to those as well. I always get good views when I show my kids doing something, or if I show our dog doing a backflip catching a stick, so those videos are good. If I show my bowl of cereal, people don't really care. It's the same concept when it comes to business. You're just going to use different content and just kind of say, oh, that got a really good response. We're going to highlight that. And if we're going to have a message, that's where we're going to throw it at. And Facebook is the easiest one to do it. Where we're at in rural Wisconsin on this side of the state, not too many people are on Instagram that are, going to be clients of ours, but worldwide they are. So with Blacktop Banter, I make sure to put a lot of pressure on Instagram, and we still do post to Wisco's Instagram as well. But a lot of these social media platforms, they have certain audiences. And once you research what audience it is, you can usually figure out what kind of content you want to put on there.
Those are some great tips, and I think that is worth a drink. So
hey, good. I like that.
I was waiting for it.
Yeah.
So you talked about Facebook ads and really kind of boosting that content so more people can see it, but talk about how you curate your content and your process to get it to social media or your website, and why is it important to kind of share that content and have it, well thought out and well kind of put to the masses, I guess? Yeah.
Well, everyone a long time ago, which in the digital world means maybe a year or 2 years. So that's a long time ago when it comes to technology and social media. They loved before and after photos, and everybody now does before and after photos. And that's nice. If you're in an area like where we are, people love seeing that, that change. Hey, it looked like this, and now it looks like that. Those are classics. So those are easy. You can take care of those. But if you have stiff competition, everyone's going to be doing that. So for me, the main thing is switching that content up to where you are at least thinking, hey, what do I want to post about? Or what do I want to show today? In our project, when we do projects, I know, hey, if we're going to be using our Craftco machine, I want to make sure that I'm highlighting this shot of us going down and pulling it, because it's going to be interesting. It's going to catch that eye. And, I really, a lot of times I'll compare it to fishing, because we're in Wisconsin. You either hunt or you fish or you drink beer. And you can throw a lure out all you want. And if it's not the right one and you're searching for a certain type of fish, it's not going to bite. But if you throw one on, hey, that looks a certain way, that catches their eye, they're going to get interested. And either they're going to bite right away and you're going for a ride, or they're going to come up and at least investigate and say, hey, do we want to bite onto this? And that's kind of the same concept with your content. Now, with all of our content, I get to reuse it. I can take one picture and put filters on it and change it, and drone shots, I can do the same thing, and we can post it here for 1 month, and then we'll switch and post it to Instagram for a month. So the concept that you need to have a lot of content isn't really true as long as you're repurposing it just right. There's all kinds of little widgets and apps that help you change how things look or add some effects. And, you have lightning bolts shooting down onto your SEAL tank or whatever you want to change it up and add some music or do whatever. And, it's pretty daunting. Like you were saying, it's really intense right away, but it's like anything else. It's the fear of the unknown. Once you get in there, it's not so bad. And actually it turns out being pretty fun.
And on the marketing front, social media can be a great way to get in front of potential customers. Like you said, that could be like the front face of your business. So why is it important that contractors utilize social media?
Yeah. I realized early on about social media, especially smartphones. When smartphones first came out, I noticed that that's where the attention was. And I knew that's where the attention was because there could be billboards on their face when they're going down the road driving, and they still have their phone in one hand looking at it. No one condones that, but it's a fact that people are always on their phones, and that's where the attention should be. So you can, and it is obviously, and you can use that to your advantage. And, just simply being there and being present really can help your business out a lot.
Awesome. So last question is a question we ask all of our guests on the show. What is the one thing you cannot wait to get back to doing once this pandemic finally ends?
Oh, my goodness.
Is it over yet?
We were just talking about this. I was talking about this with some friends last night. I really enjoy doing the podcast and having guests. But gosh, when I started it in my brain, we started it right after MPE last year. In my brain, I was going to be doing what I always do. I tour around the country. I see my friends. I love that. I love being able, and thankfully people don't think I'm crazy or weird anymore. And I can stop by and say, yeah, right away. People are like, oh, I guess you can come by. But now people are like, you didn't stop. Like, we seen you were biased and you didn't stop. And I miss that. I miss being able to stop, hang out with my friends. And I really thought I was going to be able to do the podcast on the road, have a camera on both of us. We could be cheersing in real life on some of these things. So that's really the thing that I miss the most. And I can't wait to get back to doing is spending some time with my friends in person, shaking hands, giving hugs, and just being like, all right, we're back. So I really am looking forward to that a lot.
Us too. Oh my goodness. Let's drink to that.
All right.
Well, Marvin, that's all that we have for you today. We really appreciate your insights on social, digital content, all of the things. We really appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much for being on the show.
Hey, no worries. Anytime. I'm super glad to see you too. And I love Hops and Highways. I try to catch it as much as I can. And I think everyone's starting to love it.
Awesome.
Very
we
good.
love to hear that. Thanks so much, Marvin. Have a great weekend and cheers.
You too. Cheers. Bye, all.
Bye. We got lucky last week. It was a slow week for news, and this week was not. Congress is working full force to get a nearly $2 trillion COVID relief package to the American public, and Biden called on Democrats to stick together as they sell this stimulus, and he made it clear that shifting toward the $618 billion plan offered by the GOP senators was not in the cards.
And Biden also said that his committee is boosting stimulus checks to $2,000 by giving most Americans another $1,400 in direct payments in a new round of corona relief. The Senate has been working towards a budget resolution the last 2 days, and once passed, can move forward with writing the COVID-19 relief bill.
So while this COVID-19 relief funding is hung up in Congress, the Biden administration is expected to unveil the details of the longer-term recovery plan this month focused on infrastructure. We've talked about it before. It's called the Build Back Better plan, and it would invest $2 trillion over 4 years to build and repair roads, bridges, ports, create affordable housing, and improve broadband networks.
And after Trump promised infrastructure funding during his presidency, this long-awaited influx of infrastructure spending would be welcome news for the construction industry. The latest numbers from the Census Bureau shows construction spending overall was up almost 6% last month compared to December of 2019. But take out residential construction and it's a different story. In industries that are hurting in the pandemic, like hotels, office, retail spaces, and transportation, construction is down. And the hope is that President Biden's plan, if it materializes, would provide a much needed boost.
Yeah, so I feel like we're kind of a broken record here, but Congress, of course, argued again this week on how to pay for such a spending package. Republicans have been slow to talk about raising the federal gas tax, which has not been raised since 1993. And Sam Graves, he argued that the benefits of infrastructure can be achieved with funding mechanisms that don't include raising the federal gas tax.
And Democrats, on the other hand, have argued that infrastructure package needs to have some kind of climate change initiative attached to it, arguing that environmental related provisions should be included and saying there should be a bipartisan support for implementing a carbon-free network.
Yeah, so with all of these ideas floating around, we hope that Congress decides on a plan that is equitable and doesn't impose unfair taxes on any one group of Americans. And we're going to drink to that.
So, former Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg was approved and sworn in as the new U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary this week. And he might have some ideas on how he can fund the infrastructure plan. During his presidential campaign, candidate Pete Buttigieg pledged $1 trillion to infrastructure projects over the course of a decade if he was elected, promising to create 6 million jobs in the process.
Yeah, so we really don't know how Buttigieg will shape his U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary role, but we do know that he said that he wanted to repair half of major roads and structurally unsound bridges by 2030. So under a Buttigieg administration, we may have seen stricter requirements for the state of good repair management, and this could carry over to his term as DOT Secretary.
Buttigieg was the only candidate to suggest shoring up the Highway Trust Fund, so it would remain solvent beyond just a year-long extension. And with the current funding expiring September 30th of this year, the 117th Congress will need to address its solvency. But to do this, during his campaign, Buttigieg talked about rolling back the Trump corporate taxes and closing loopholes.
Yeah, so talking about how to pay for it, Buttigieg said he would consider a vehicle miles traveled user fee, provided that individual privacy is protected, and arguing that we do need to graduate from the gas tax since it's not viable for a long-term funding mechanism for our highways. And we will cheers to Secretary Buttigieg, now full in term, and hope that he will be able to fight hard for infrastructure while he's in office. Cheers. So, in some other interesting news, research came out this week that discussed the viability of reducing pandemic-generated waste by recycling single-use face masks into pavement. So we know what you're thinking. They're trying to put more junk in our roads. And while you might be right, it's still important that we keep you updated on any research that's happening out there that might impact you and how you build our roads.
Yeah, and as face masks and gloves are found littering our roads, RMIT University conducted a study that blended shredded face masks and added them to recycled aggregates for road-based and sub-base applications. By adding this shredded face mask into the mix, it increased the strength and the stiffness and improved the flexibility of the blend. So, I mean, it's a triple threat right there. And while we don't want junk in our roads, like Jess said, we also don't want these gloves and masks littering our roadways. So let's do our weekly cheers to end the pandemic.
Yay. Cheers. Like I said, is it over yet? Please. Ending the week on a high note, as always, with Build America Friday. This week, we're bringing you more on a project we talked about when the show first started, giving a shout out to the crew at Emery Sapp & Sons.
So the company was hired to replace 13 bridges and improve another 6 as part of a complex design build project on I-44. They self-performed over 75% of the work, and that allowed them to finish the work a year ahead of schedule and under $1.5 million under their budget.
Yeah, so one of the major innovations on this job was the use of a corrugated steel arch in place of replacing 4 bridges on the project. And it removed 4 future maintenance items issues for the Missouri DOT and reduced the cost of construction. So paving under these is obviously a bit of a challenge, and the crew had to deal with the trucks not being able to raise their beds all the way inside the arch. So only 3/4 of the load was dumped at the paver and the rest needed to be packed in.
Emery Saps & Sons used a pavement design of a 9-inch of asphalt on a 4-inch of base and a total tonnage of 2,100 tons under just one of these arches under Route 96 in Halltown, Missouri. We will post a link so you can see the photos after we're done in the comments and read more about it in the video comments. But cheers to Emery Saps & Son for an awesome project.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Well, what's left of my beer is still ice cold thanks to my Yeti koozie. What about yours, Stormy?
Oh, it's crisp and cold.
These koozies are legit, and I know you want one. So keep an eye out for the link to the video to enter to win. It's just a couple simple questions. We're going to pick the winner, and we're going to tell you who won next week and ship out your canned koozie. And like I said, we're going to give away 1 koozie a week for the next couple months. So tune in, and we will see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.
Watch Hops and Highways live every Friday at 3 p.m. on Asphalt Contractors' Facebook page, or catch the replay on forconstructionpros.com/videos.